Good guys here, and they have a lot of experience with in their business with reaching out to other communities. So often, many of the businesses are local communities that, it could be a coffee place, it could be a small restaurant, it could be many different businesses, real estate that just decides to stay close to home. But then you have a group of individuals that are risk takers in a lot of respects, and they develop a product or a service that allows them to reach out to other communities. And I guess the first person we should talk to about is Gabe Lovato from Apple Valley Communications. Your company's been here quite a long time.
Yeah, we've been around and established since 1956.
That's great. Tell us just a little bit about what you do and yourself, please.
Well, originally the company started as a cable TV provider back in 1956 till approximately 1982. At that point, they sold the cable company to an incoming cable company, and around 1988, Larry Cusack purchased the company and turned it into we kind of morphed into a low voltage provider. We provide fire alarms, security alarms, intercom systems, paging systems, fiber optics, data cabling to military, educational markets, things like that all over Southern California.
So you're constantly evolving, aren't you?
We have to be. The technology changes so much that we constantly are evolving every year.
I think this is something that is very important to all of us. I know my little business is constantly evolving, new products, and we see what products don't sell, and we just let them go by the wayside. But this is the way to grow. Mike, yes. I've known you for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Good morning. Before I begin, I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to thank the foundation for inviting me to be part of the panel this morning. It's a pleasure primarily because I know most of you in the room, but because of the expansion of my practice virtually all over California, it's been weeks for some, months for many, that I have not had the opportunity to see you and speak with you, and so it's just great to be here. I'm the Vice President of Sales with ISU Insurance Services RMAC Agency, located in Victorville, California. We also have an office in Alhambra. Most of you are familiar with RMAC. We are a full-service agency specializing in commercial lines insurance, employee benefits, and personal lines insurance as well. I decided very early on that I would kind of change my practice into more of a vertical market, and so I'm excited to share with you where I've been and what I've been doing while I've been gone. But again, thanks for the opportunity, and thank you for all the support for the RMAC agency.
And then Tom Friedhof. Tell us a little bit about your business, please.
Morning. Is this thing on? Yep. My name's Tom Friedhof. I work with ActiveLAMP. We are a digital strategy company, and web development company. We're very much in the tech space. We've been around for 10 years, and we've actually, Sam, one of our video producers, we actually brought a job from Orange County to the desert. We've got 10 people on staff as well, so we've been around for a while.
That's great. That's great. So let's continue on with you. So who are your primary customers, and what's motivating you besides profit, of course?
Yep.
What's the hot button to go reach out to other communities?
Yeah. So in the tech industry, I guess for us, the way it kind of happened for us is it kind of happened by accident, in the sense that I was running a freelance company, basically just working as a contractor, and I would go down to the Los Angeles area and basically share my knowledge with other developers in the area. And what ended up happening was I got connected with large organizations saying, hey, you know your stuff, can you help us build this tool that we would like built? And I'd say, yes, we can help you build that tool. And at the time it was just me, but I also had a connection of contractors that we were able to work with as well. And so as those connections, as I made more connections in the Los Angeles area, what I was able to do was hire on contractors that I'd found up here in the desert. A lot of them actually graduating from VVC. So we were so we were able to build this business, kind of organically. People wanted our help down in Los Angeles. We were able to provide it. I was able to find talent up here in the high desert, and we were able to just make that happen.
So one more question before we move on is, approximately, if you could pull out a percentage of business, of sales, let's say,
Yep.
In the high desert communities versus down the hill, what kind of blend do you have?
So I would say probably before 2015, about 99% of our business was outside of the high desert. We just signed another client yesterday, so maybe we're at 95% of our business out in Los Angeles.
Wow.
But one of the goals for 2015 is we very much want to become part of this community. We live here, so we want to do work in our own backyard. So the goal at the end of the year is to make that the percentage of business that we do in the desert much higher.
Well, sometimes it's really hard to get old guys like me to use the web. But I will tell you, since we've done it, it is really amazing. We can really reach out all over the world. Our business, just since we've done the web, our business is probably 12% of our business now is international business. And no one would have ever known about us before. Gabe, I remember talking to Larry, and he was always proud of going out and getting contracts in other communities. First of all, what's a percentage, do you think, approximately, of domestic, a high desert versus down the hill business?
I actually met with Larry, and we kind of went over this in great detail. And we've estimated about 80% of our business actually comes out of comes away from the high desert and other regions.
Incredible.
Yep.
That's great. So the two of you, since such a high amount of business is going outside of the high desert, how are you going to be able to capture more of the business? Is there a basis for business growth here? I mean, what do you see? Are we big enough to really give you sales?
So from our perspective, we opened up another line of offering specifically for the high desert. I mean, we're always going to be a development company, and we'll develop software for anybody that needs us to develop software. But we specifically came out with a product that would target this market, a little bit lower tier market than we're used to getting in Los Angeles.
Lower tier?
Well, not lower tier, but lower priced, excuse me.
Are you telling us we're thrifty up here?
I'll say that the budgets in Los Angeles are definitely much more expensive.
Mike, how about you? You have quite a broad selection of product to offer. I'm kind of interested about your verticality. How's that as a word?
Sure. Yes, I would say like most agents and brokers when they first enter into the insurance industry, I approached insurance on a horizontal basis, and so I was looking to write insurance and risk management programs for virtually anyone that would give me the time of day. And so I was very successful early on establishing relationships and acquiring new clients. And then about 5 years ago, I was introduced by a very dear friend of mine named Martha Brody. I'm sure all of you know Martha. She had introduced me to her boss at the time, Brandy Johnson, who is the owner of a local home instead senior care. And they provide non-skilled services, assisting elderly and the infirmed with the 6 activities of daily living. And so Home Instead is a national franchise group, and I really developed an interest around this specific sector, and even more importantly, the opportunities to help business owners with their workers' compensation, specifically the frequency and severity of workplace injuries. And so while I started out as a generalist, I saw a huge opportunity to enter into a vertical market space and decided that would be ultimately what I would pursue. And so I'm actually sitting up here with one of my wonderful clients, Gabe and Larry. They're a fantastic group to work with, and we're still serving their needs. I actually write the insurance programs for some of you in the audience as well. But over the last 3 years, I have really homed in on the in-home care space. And so the question is the high desert providing enough opportunity? The answer, quite frankly, is no. And that's just simply because we don't have the population to support my business model. And so therefore, I have to go outside of the area. I currently write 45 in-home care agencies in the state of California, and I work with 4 of the nation's largest franchise groups. Because of my knowledge and expertise in workers' compensation and the results I've been able to achieve for many of my clients in that space, have become actually recognized nationally. And so I do webinars and speaking engagements for my Comfort Care, Home Instead, Visiting Angels, and Comfort Keeper franchise groups. I also work with a number of non-franchise agency owners as well. And so if the opportunity was here, I would love to stay here. Quite frankly, there's just not enough in-home care agencies. And so my goal by January 1st, 2017 is to have 100 in-home care agencies.
What I find interesting is all 4 of us, most of our businesses coming outside the high desert. What I also find interesting is that all 4 of us live in the high desert, instead of out where most of our customers are. I guess it's a nice place to live.
It is a nice place.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So I've really enjoyed the community a lot. They've reached out to me, and I certainly try to employ as many people as I can, and it's worked. When we moved here, anybody perspective that'd like to move to the high desert, I moved 25 families with me, and people said, well, why would you go to the high desert? Why? Well, it allowed 100% of my employees to buy a house. To me, that's unbelievable. In San Fernando Valley, 1 only owned a house. And now we have to stay under 50 employees, so we're right at 48, 49 right now. And we've been there for a few years, and so but it's a great place, and our turnover is minimal. People like to live in the high desert. There's a lot of fun made about it, but it's a great place to live. So how, so I think what's interesting is, Michael, are you going to start expanding out of California?
Yes. Our agency is part of what is referred to in the industry as a national aggregator, and so we are essentially comprised of around 150 independently owned and operated brokerages in 26 states. We're licensed in all 50 states, and our aggregator model is domiciled in San Francisco, and so we have a lot of interaction with our home office, our corporate office. They have really taken notice of my traction in home care, and so we've recently had discussions around expanding and replicating my efforts on a national basis, and we're going to work towards creating a pilot program where we will essentially choose 5 brokers throughout the country in various geographic regions to support the influx of referrals that I have from the 4 major franchise groups that I work with. Right now, my expertise revolves primarily around the California Labor and Insurance Code, and that really gives me a leg up with regards to workers' compensation, claims administration, and ultimately having an impact on my clients' XMODs and driving down their workers' compensation premiums. Gabe can attest to that as well. And so if we're successful, I would say within the next 18 to 24 months, we will have created this program to support my franchise groups on a national level, and those dollars, a portion of those dollars, will be filtered back into the high desert.
That's great. Now, Gabe, so how are you're reaching out, about 80% of your business is outside the high desert. How are you expanding out even further? How are you reaching out to embrace other communities and bring the profits back to the high desert?
So typically our biggest markets are education, military, like I mentioned earlier. The way we go out to market is we build relationships with electrical contractors, general contractors, and what we find is a lot of times that an employee might leave one company and go to another, and then now we're working at another company that we've never done work with before. We basically go from San Diego all the way up north. We've done work in Arizona, Nevada, so we typically go anywhere where there's public works jobs.
Is there any other opportunities besides the public works jobs that can use your services?
Absolutely. We're right now we're redoing the fire alarm like at the Holiday Inn. We're bidding some motels, our hotels down in Palm Springs area, some resorts. So we do get work that does not come from Public Works. Again, building relationships with contractors is what typically drives that.
So relationship building. Are there any other major hurdles that you particularly see in expanding from the high desert to throughout Southern California?
Yeah, the biggest issue we have is that probably 95% of our employees live in the high desert. So the further out that we go, then we have an obstacle for either driving down there for gas, extra fees, or staying in hotels. We do have some employees that live down the hill, so we typically try to keep those employees working near their home as well, but it doesn't always work out that way. So the biggest logistical problem for us is getting them to the job site the further out we go.
Yeah, that's tough because the rest of us, in many cases, all you have to do is pick up the phone. You guys got to take a truck
That's
and a
right.
crew out to the job site.
Yeah, we physically have to go out there and install, like, cabling, whatever the system is that we're doing.
I'd like to add,
Yeah,
if I may,
please.
Gabe's company also does residential alarms, and they are doing some really cool stuff with regards to home automation. Gabe's company actually came into my home and gave us the ability to arm and disarm our alarm through our cell phones now. We have various areas in our home where we can turn lights on and off from our cell phones, and really, really cool. So just wanted to give you a plug. Great
Thank
work
you, I
and
appreciate
good
that.
service.
So is this kind of like a little prepackaged deal? Because all of us are
No,
probably
well,
interested in
actually-
something like that. Not a big sales piece,
No,
but just
well, one of the things that we're currently doing in the last 2 years is actually focusing here locally in the last 2 years, and I think that we've made a splash in this market here locally. In the past, not that we didn't care, but we were focused on other things, on larger customers and specifically educational markets all over Southern California. So the last 2 years, me and a couple other people have focused on getting more work in the high desert, and we're doing a phenomenal job. And a lot of it comes from residential, security alarms, things like that, commercial fire alarms, data cabling, things like that.
how are you reaching out though?
Again,
haven't heard anything
it's
about this.
networking, word of mouth, to be honest, referrals, people like this, and we get a lot of our work based on referrals and that we've done a good job, and people are more likely to tell their friends about us than it is. We've done different advertising in different ways at times, and we just haven't had the success that we've had other than getting it by word by mouth.
Do you have a website?
We do, and it's garbage.
Let me introduce you to a website a developer. So Tom, you're kind of going the other way, but how does business differ in the high desert? Your perception of how to go to business, as well as the reception of business from the major metropolitan area and a more isolated community.
You know, we're really just kind of entering this space. So I think one of the challenges that we're going to have to face when it comes to really pitching the businesses here in the high desert is really, providing value and selling that value and that return on investment. In the larger markets, it's a lot easier to just throw money. The organizations that we've worked with, throw money at it. Let's see if it works. See if it sticks. But I think with us approaching the businesses in the high desert, we have to be very strategic, and there's going to be a lot of strategy involved. And saying, okay, will this actually produce value? Will this produce a return on investment?
Is that because we're so thrifty?
It's because the budgets are much more expansive in bigger areas.
Yeah. So there is a big world out there. It's a big step when you go from the high desert or region or local community to the region. I've always felt that if you don't do a good job in your backyard, don't even bother expanding out, because as you mentioned about commuting, the commute times on the highways and stuff, in the last couple of days I've put on about 2 to 250 miles a day, going to Long Beach and Orange County and then up to San Fernando Valley, and it's like you're spending all your time in your car and not doing business. So I really emphasize that, whether you're a small mom and pop's business, service or product business, or a medium size or larger, you got to do a good job to get the cash flow, to get the credibility. RMAC's done a terrific job. You're extremely credible, and then you reached out. You guys have been in business a long time. You've done a great job up here, and you reached out. You, on the other hand, is going the other way, probably passing on the 15 there. But you obviously did a good job in your community, in your region, and now we're trying to capture some of the business up here. And, you know, there's probably a lot of advantages. You're bringing a lot of big business knowledge to a smaller business community, and I think that there's a real benefit to that.
Yeah, at the end of 2014, that was one of our main goals is, you know, for 2015, let's take everything that we've learned working with these large organizations and apply it to our local community. And so, yeah, that's really, we want to be a part of this community, and we haven't been for the past decade. And so that's a big goal of ours for 2015.
When you reach out, do you belong to local organizations? How important is joining local professional organizations and community organizations for contacts?
Yeah, so for us, I guess the way we've kind of sold things down in the Los Angeles market is kind of through the back door. Mm-hmm. We've joined a lot of technical communities, a lot of development communities, and what happens is developers and engineers from large organizations come to these meetings, and I would talk and give presentations on technology, and what would happen is they would introduce me to their boss, say, hey, we need you guys, can you help us? Mm-hmm. And so that's definitely how we've, gotten the word out there. It's very much networking, going to tech events, going to conferences, and just meeting people. So Gabe,
you're doing a lot of contract work, is that correct? Bid, lowest price?
For the most part, yes.
How can you go out and create new value-added business? Have you worked on that approach?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we're doing. In regards to getting in the lowest bid, we have a line of products that we sell, and we have a territory. So the key is to get these things specified on the projects. And when we get them specified on a project, we can really limit the amount of bidders that go against us. Mm-hmm. And not that we're the only ones that are allowed to bid it, but we really narrow down the playing field. Good. So that's one of the strategies we use to try to specifically get work in certain areas.
Well, Mike, you're really focused. Doing a vertical type of business like that, probably more focused than any of us.
Yes.
And is there, I guess really what you want to do is do a great job in your backyard focusing on that vertical business of yours.
Absolutely. I think the key to serving the vertical market well, whichever that may be for any of you, there's beauty in that these vertical markets tend to have a very, very small community, and they all talk. And so right now, 100% of my business is referral. I don't have to pick up the phone. I don't have to beat the streets. My clients are sending me my prospective clients, and it's based on the results that we're achieving for them, and so that's huge. Also working with national franchise groups, it's important to understand that these franchisees are required to meet sometimes on a monthly, certainly on a quarterly basis, to share best practices, share experiences with certain vendors, and I get a lot of business that way as well. And so finding a vertical market is key, and then finding one that will help you essentially spread the word without having to do a whole lot of work on your end, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, not all
it keeps you sharp as well because of the fact that they're always talking.
Not all of us are that lucky to have a product or a service that you can work a vertical market. But Gabe, you're...
Yeah, I would like to kind of expand on what Mike said. When we hired Mike, we had other workers' comp insurance agencies that just weren't doing a very good job. And in fact, our X-mod was extremely high when I spoke with Mike, and he told me what he could do. And we made the decision to go with him, and as a result of that, he's cut our X-mod in half, and not only that, educated us as a company on things that we should be doing and that we shouldn't be doing, and how to handle things appropriately. And they're a great resource. Anytime we have a question, they're very easy to pick up the phone and answer our questions for us.
Tom, have you done any vertical work in specific industries or businesses in different areas?
I guess the tech stack that we work in is a vertical. We haven't really zeroed in on a niche.
You're still using the shotgun.
Well, shotgun in a sense because we work in a very specific tech stack. And so our company name ActiveLAMP, the LAMP is actually an acronym for the tech stack that we work on. Oh. So Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. And so people that are working within that tech stack, oh, and by the way, Facebook is on that tech stack. People that are working within that tech stack are looking for experts that know that tech stack very well. So that's kind of been our vertical. I wouldn't really consider, we're still figuring out it. We want to make that vertical a lot more narrower so we can really target on that, but that's really been what we've done for the past 10 years.
You know, one of the things in being in business for as long as I have, I'm getting gray hair, as you can see, is that it allows you to visit a lot of prospective customers and hopefully capture them as new customers. And I've worked the vertical market a lot. When I started the business, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I learned on the job about mixing. What the heck's a mixer? You know, and everybody thinks it's a concrete mixer. Well, they make concrete, mixers also, but ours are for food, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, beverages, beverage concentrates, Dr. Pepper, Snapple, all the concentrates that are made right here in this plant use our mixers and mixing tanks. But in order to really grow, I was successful with one customer making salad dressing. I didn't know anything about salad dressing. And so the customer embraced me, and it was Ken's Foods. Now they're the world's largest salad dressing manufacturer, Ken's Steakhouse Dressings. They had a concept. They bought a little company for $1 million in Chicago that didn't really have a product. It was a concept. And they've grown it now in 14 years. They'll do about $280 million a year, and it's called Sweet Baby Ray's Barbecue Sauce. But they started with my little mixer, and I was able to make the sauce a little different than everybody else's. And since then, Frank's Red Hot and all the other ones kind of joined in, working a vertical market. So now I can, and I don't want to bore anybody, but this vertical market thing is a big deal when it comes to growing a business. It's important to have a fairly broad and diversified portfolio of products, but if you can work certain segments, Ken's Steakhouse Dressing, Hidden Valley Ranch, Marzetti's, Gerard's, and a lot of McDonald's dressings, Burger King, all those now are made with our machines. Our little tiny company in Adelanto, because I really focused and worked a vertical market, just like what you're doing. And you have to join the associations. In fact, I'm leaving tomorrow to go to San Antonio for the Association for Dressings and Sauces annual technical session. But a funny story. So I get a call, it goes back 20 years ago in Phoenix. Guy wants me to mix ground up tire chips in asphalt. Ground up tire chips in asphalt. And he had all these mixers around a tank trying to mix and mix and mix. And I was able to bring one mixer in, eliminate all those mixers, and give them a very homogeneous mix. And now you have rubber, a percentage of ground up tire chips or rubber in asphalt as a road topping that expands and contracts through heat and cold. And they're used all over the world, these mixers. Another totally diversified or divergent product. I want to thank you guys for coming up and spending your time.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that we were able to maybe impart a little bit of knowledge. I forgot to thank Tim Donnelly for the introduction. And, we wish him all a great success. We've all known him for a long time, beating around the high desert. And now he's also diversifying, going down the hill, so to speak, all over. And I think he's going to bring a unique insight to his listeners. And thank you for the high desert. Thanks, Eric.